What's up, folks? I want to talk to you tonight about some baits that I got sent to me from Bite Me Baits of Kentucky. Chad sent me a few baits and he wanted me to try them out and let you guys know what I thought about them. And I have to say I like them quite a bit. First one I'm going to talk about is a bladed swim jig. Now you can see he makes his bladed swim jigs with this kind of, I don't know, it's like a surfboard style blade is what I call it. And the blade is connected directly to the eye of the jig, if you can see that. It's a real thick skirt. All these skirts are hand tied, and he uses a wire wrap, which I really like. I don't know if you can see that or not, but the skirts are wrapped with a wire, and it's a coated wire, which keeps it from rusting. Has had good luck with that coated wire like that. It's got a pretty decent hook in it, like probably a 4/0. It's an EWG style hook, which is going to help you ripping it through the grass. I prefer a round bend, but this is still a pretty good hook, and I've thrown this around in the grass and it does come through pretty good. It's got a really tight wobble. It's more of a finessey type of chatterbait in my opinion. If you look at the blade on traditional chatterbait, which this is kind of the industry standard, chatterbait has that coffin shaped blade there, and that gives this bait a lot more of a hunting action, more erratic, where this bait's the blade's rounded out for the most part, and I think that gives it a lot tighter wobble. So you really need both of these, to be quite honest. There's a time for both of these, but overall the quality of this is really nice. Next, let's talk about his spinnerbait that he sent me. The skirt material, or actually this skirt color, is one that's in his Bloodline series. It's got all the red in there, and it looks kind of overpowering, the red, to me, but it's not, because when you get it in the water, the red kind of lightens up and gives the skirt a more rounded look. If you can see all that red in there. So that's the Bloodline series skirt, and he uses a heavy wire frame. And the thing I like a lot about this spinnerbait is this loop that he ties in there. If you can see that loop there, that's not, you don't find that very often anymore in a spinnerbait. And the thing I like about that versus the traditional R bend is your line does not slide down. A lot of times when you're jerking it out of the grass, or even when you hook up with the fish, your line will actually slide down one side or the other. If it slides down this side, it's getting into all the business side of the spinnerbait, and you're going to get some nicks in your line. You potentially could break off. So I like that this keeps your line in a fixed position. I like the head design on this. It's got a little bit of a flat spot on the top, which aids in coming through cover. It rides really good. Rides like it's supposed to, reeling it in. It's got a longer hook, and he said he uses this longer hook so you don't have to use a trailer hook. Here's your keeper on there. And another thing that he does that's kind of unique is he uses these, they're kind of a oval shaped bead, I don't know if you can see that or not, versus a traditional round shaped bead, and it's supposed to allow the blades to spin a little more freely. And one thing I did notice about this, I've thrown it around a little bit in my pond, actually caught fish on it already, and this little blade spins around. It kind of stutters a little bit. It'll roll and then it'll kind of stutter a little bit. It's pretty interesting. It spins a lot slower than the big blade here on the end, so it gives it a little bit different action. So it's a good looking bait here. It's nice beefy wire. It's not going to tear up like a lot of your thin wire stuff does. So this is his swim jig. Really nice colors on this thing. Look at that, guys. That's a bluegill pattern. The paint on the head is really sweet. He's got some recessed eyes in there. Nice vertical line tie. Once again, he's using an EWG hook. This is a 4/0 hook. It's a nice stout hook. It's going to get it done. I like this fiber, or this weed guard here. It's soft, which is what you want. You don't want a really stiff weed guard on a swim jig. But I really like this color. The color combination is, he doesn't have names for his colors. He's a complete custom bait company, so he kind of refrains from putting names on the colors, which is one thing I like about you know, the mom and pop jig makers, you can talk to them. You can actually call them, tell them you have an idea for a certain skirt color, and they'll custom make them for you. You know, try doing that with Strike King. It's not going to happen. You know, you get what they mass produce, and that's all you get. So that's a really nice looking swim jig. I've thrown that around, and it looks really good in the water. I'd probably trim this skirt up a little bit, probably thin about half of this out, maybe a third of this out. I like a thinner skirt, me personally, so you get a lot more flare. But you know, what's nice is you got a full skirt and you can do whatever you want with it. If you got less, you can't put it back on there. So here's another swim jig, and this is going to be in his Bloodline color. Once again, this red, he's calling the Bloodline color. Same deal. It's got a nice head, nice paint job, good hook, good weed guard, pretty solid looking bait. Now that's obviously a shad color. Here's his football jig. Pretty standard football jig. Now this is a 1/2 ounce model, and one thing he did go to on his football jigs is he's got the round bend hook, which I really like. This is a nice stout hook. It looks like a mustad hook. He's got a nice weed guard on there. Good colors, a little bit thinner skirt. I like it. And last thing he sent me was this brush jig. This is a really good head shape. I've actually fished with this head shape on other companies' jigs, and it comes through rock and wood really well. This is kind of I guess a camel crawl type pattern. I don't know what you'd call it. Bluegill, I don't know. Sunfish, I'm not sure. It's got this is a 3/8 ounce, so it's got the 4/0 hook in it. It's a really beefy hook. Got a good weed guard on it. And the thing I really like about all his products, like I mentioned earlier, is that the skirt is wire tied. And I don't know if you've fished long enough, you've had this happen, but the bands that most companies use, the little rubber bands that hold the skirt on there, they just deteriorate over time. You know, they sit out in the sun for a little while, and next thing you know, you got all these little strands in your floor of your boat from a jig sitting there, or in your box, or wherever you keep them. You're not going to have that with a wire tie. It's really nice. I mean, yeah, you can't change the skirt on the jig. Most of the time, you're not changing the skirt. You know, you got a jig, you got multiple jigs, they're in different colors. You just cut one off and tie the new one on there. But the wire tie is really sweet. I really like the wire tie. So once again, that's Bite Me Baits of Kentucky. Here's what they're labeling. Look, their packaging looks like. It's got a Facebook page, got a website. If you like what you saw, go check them out. At least stop by there and say hi and look at his prices. The prices are really well. He's got spinnerbaits, bladed jigs, swim jigs, brush jigs, football jigs. I think he even sells some shaky head, some terminal type tackle. Really nice guy. Talked to him for a little while the other day, and give him a chance, man. So, you know, as usual, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. If you watch somebody's content, you like their material, subscribe to their channel and share it on social media. Bite Me Baits of Kentucky, guys. Check them out. Till next time.